Did y'all plan to have babies at the same time?
Well, it was kind of the dream.
Totally, like bestie dream.
Bestie dream, but hers, Leighton, was like a surprise blessing.
Yes, Leighton was a love baby.
Yeah.
A love baby?
A love baby. You're just making love and something happens, you know?
And then Forrest, you know, we were like ready to start trying, but it was so bizarre. Like, I have endometriosis, and so
that's so difficult.
Girl, it has
Have you been through it with that?
Yes, it's
Like,
been.
have you had to have surgeries or?
I didn't have to have surgery, but I've had like 2 ruptured cysts and 1 hemorrhaging.
and it's so painful?
Oh my gosh, like worse than childbirth, honestly. Like I think I'm gonna go emergency C-section. No, I'm just kidding. It was terrible. But
You had an emergency C-section too?
it was rough. And then the epidural wore off, so I felt it, and they had to put me under.
Cutting
Girl,
you
it
open?
was, yeah,
You
girl.
felt that?
It was the most out of body pain. Like literally, my pain tolerance. There's nothing that can hurt me anymore.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I just feel
You've been cut open and felt it in a baby.
That's where that like ruthless like mom thing where I'm like, oh, I've been cut open. But yeah, they had to put me under because
all the way
because my epidural wasn't taking. And then I this is so gross, but I just felt like all the layers like pop like while they were cutting, and then I like
Literally sends shivers down.
I know it was sick. And then my husband was like, "You psycho! I know that you're not telling them that you can feel this because you don't want to not meet your baby." Because I knew they were going to put me under,
And then you're out for like an hour, right?
yeah. And so I was like, just keep going. And they're like, if you can feel it, then that's not good. And I'm like, just keep going. And then they were like, and then I just squealed, and they were like, you're done.
So they put you under.
Yeah. And so then, and I like mourned that.
How did that? I know, because y'all both had things you had to mourn. And that's the thing
Yeah.
also with like pregnancy and childbirth is it never, sometimes some people get a perfect one, a perfect experience, but like a lot of it's
hardly
very
ever
traumatic.
Yes.
It is.
It
And
hardly
it
ever
really
goes
like
the way you want it
gets
to.
you to your core.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. Yeah. What if you have like a traumatic pregnancy, then maybe you have a great delivery or vice versa, or maybe all of it's like,
There's trauma somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had to like mourn that for a little while. And
Because that's hard. The first second of like your baby being born, you were under.
yeah, my husband was just like holding him and just waiting for me to wake up. And I'm just like looking like a dead person, just like, you know, it was the best nap of my life. I'll tell you that. It was probably a blessing, you know, like, hey, you ain't going to sleep for a long time. Enjoy this, girl.
When you came out though, were you sad or were you able to be in the moment?
Oh, I was just sobbing happy tears.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, he's I don't remember it that well, but Jonah took pictures and he said you just kept crying and saying, he's perfect. I love him. He's perfect.
He's so stinking cute, that boy.
I do feel like there's these little moments of redemption, though, where it's like, you know, I had a really great journey and I'm still nursing. Like, y'all, I don't know how this baby's going to get off my boob because it's like all he cares about is my boobs.
Well, your boobs look amazing.
Oh, thanks, girl. They're going to be like saggy, floppy brown bags
yes,
by
they
the end of
will.
it.
I mean,
But enjoy
it's very,
them.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Heave mine up.
Oh, that's what's
going
gonna
to
happen.
I'm like, man, they look good. And then as soon as the bra comes off, I'm like,
Oh,
so
pancakes,
sad.
because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's like part of me is like, do I just nurse until I have another baby so I don't have pancakes? I don't know.
I know. It's a
But
real thing.
I think breastfeeding for me, my goal was like to make it a year, and I'm there. Good job. And so thank you.
Yeah,
but,
amazing. And on touring too.
and touring, yeah.
Did
But
you ever leak on stage?
oh yeah,
All the
for
time.
sure. Yeah, all the time. And so, and I just if I forgot boob pads, done. It was over.
If there's
for
like
me.
babies in our meet and greet, Maddie's like, I'm leaking.
My boobs are exploding.
Literally. I need to feed a baby.
You're shooting milk out of your tits.
It's like, you know, like the t-shirt guns. I was like, hey, here's a free t-shirt. I'm like, I mean,
True
so
story.
sick. But all that being said, like breastfeeding was kind of my redemptive moment for like my traumatic experience. It was like because I had such an easy, wonderful time breastfeeding, it kind of like, you know, it evened me out. I feel like,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
and
then I wanna-
all mine's traumatic.
I just have to read this one little
but
quote.
the second go time is better. Yes,
Maddie,
yeah.
I mean, Tae, you said, this made me cry. Oh. You posted something, it was like preterm labor day, and you're like, I'll never forget being, I'm going to cry reading
I
your
know.
quote. I'll never forget being told I was in preterm labor at just 24 weeks. That's so scary.
I know. So scary.
Sadness, tears, confusion. We felt it all. And then some. I cried and grieved what I thought my pregnancy birth would be like. I was angry and I felt robbed. Oh my God, I'm going to cry.
I know.
But boy, if I only knew then, we weren't robbed at all. We were blessed. The journey, as painful as it was, gave us the most beautiful, strong, intelligent little girl who's a daily reminder to us of God's miracles.
Oh my God. Can I have a tissue?
Damn it! I knew someone was going to get it.
That is so hard.
That experience
Did
truly.
you give birth at 24 or 5 weeks?
I held her in by
You
the grace
did?
of God for like 5 weeks actually.
You got to like almost 30 weeks?
I got to 28. I made it to like one day into my second
Because that's like
trimester.
the magic
Or
number,
third
28
trimester.
weeks, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And it was like they just kept telling me like every day that she's in your belly saves 3 days in the NICU. And so that was just like I held on to that. And
How did
so-
you hold her in?
I mean, so when I went into the hospital and I was in preterm labor, I was already 2 centimeters dilated, but like didn't feel a thing. They were like, "Do you know you're having contractions?" And I said, "No."
Why did you go in?
Chilling.
I'll tell you. You're touring at this point too?
Yes,
You're
and
on the road?
We were on the road. We had just shot a music video the day before. We were supposed to start our headlining tour like a month later.
So canceled that.
Yes, had to.
And the thing of being a mom,
unfortunately.
you have to. And that's why I
Exactly.
love that y'all are such great friends and support each other.
Oh
'Cause,
my
like,
gosh, yeah.
It's more than a career. It's so
is.
much more than a career with you guys. And I
It's
love
life.
that.
Yeah,
It's a
our
life.
Yeah.
You're building
She's
a
my
life.
soulmate.
Yeah.
Like everything else can kick rocks. Like my girl's got to be good, you know?
Yeah, but I only went in because my cervix was measuring like a millimeter short or something. Like it wasn't a big deal, but they were like, we'll just keep an eye on it. And then from the time I was 20 weeks to 24 weeks, it went from like 29 to 3. Like it just had completely effaced. I think that's technically the term. And yeah, I was just having contractions and I had a bulging sac. Sorry, that's
No,
like
I mean,
TMI,
it's
but that's
how it
the
is. I feel like a lot of moms are
technical
probably
term.
watching this. They're freaking warriors.
Yes,
What
and
does a
they-
bulging sack mean?
So I was like
balls.
2
No, I'm just
centimeters dilated, and then the sac was like coming out.
Okay.
So it was like bulging out of the, But they said, you'll have to stay here for 2 weeks at first, and then every 2 weeks it was just like 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks. But I mean,
Did you just lay down?
I was on bed rest and played a lot of Oculus and watched a lot of TV, did a lot
Did
of
you just try to
coloring.
stay calm?
I tried to stay calm, but
She was
I
a warrior.
Were you a
lost my
wreck?
mind. I that experience completely altered me.
Tell me tell me about it because I can imagine how that would feel.
I mean, it was just scary because there was always that question of like, if I did have her today, is she going to make it? What's going to be wrong with her? Is she going to need forever, assistance to breathe, live, walk? I don't know. And she was already tiny because Josh and I aren't huge, tall people. So she was always just measuring a little bitty tiny girl. But I mean, it was awful. I think the hardest part for me was it was COVID and it was over Christmas break. So the isolation was horrible. Like no one could come visit us.
Could your husband be in there with you?
Just my husband.
Josh's birthday, and New Year's were all spent in the
Yes.
hospital. Yeah.
And it was just like you had to wear masks. So there was just such like a sense of like separation. There was no connection that I felt. Even with Josh. Josh did his absolute best. He was so like goofy and silly and kept trying to make me laugh. But I was just sad and so depressed. But as heartbreaking and as much as that changed me, the moment that I held Leighton, I was like, I'd do that again.
What were those days like? Because was it still a lot of fear when she was born?
Yes, totally. She was 2 pounds when she was born. Itty bitty. So
So she was born like one day after 28 weeks?
28 weeks and 5 days, I think.
Okay.
And so she was a micro preemie. And every day I would go in the NICU and I tell Maddie it felt like I was walking in a battle. Like I would walk in with my bag, my pumping parts, and then I would scrub in, and then I couldn't hold her because when they're
Couldn't hold her?
when they're that little and you can't really
They're all
even-
hooked up to stuff?
Yeah, you just put your hands in the incubator and just lay them on them. You can't rub them because they're too sensitive to touch. So you just like lay your hands on them. And then I fed her through a cotton swab. Her diaper was the size of a credit card and it was still too big. I know. And it's so funny because Leighton is like the best baby. She's so well adjusted. She's actually like intellectually advanced, which is
Way
crazy.
past her age. Yeah.
Amazing.
But I feel like I just get so emotional. One, just like, I mean, I was just so in awe of T and the strength, but like just seeing Leighton and like I don't want to like, but it's just so beautiful to see God work that close up.
Literally,
You know,
yes.
where like, and any time that like Joan and I got to go visit them, like I just had this peace that like she was going to be okay and everything was going to be okay. But just like seeing this beautiful little pumpkin just like grow into this little woman, and she is a magical little girl, and
Yeah,
like we
perfect.
call her the FOMO baby because she just really wanted to be here.
Girl.
But she was ready.
It's crazy though how fear and faith are just such a close line.
absolutely.
You know, like it's like on that they walk the same line.
Exactly. Like I felt like God took me to literally the edge of my tolerance. Like
Like you said, I'm going to push you
broken.
through all your like I'm going to push you as far as you can with your fear.
the worst, like the worst version of me, like the most broken version of me is where I got taken to. And then the redemption ever since then is just incredible. Like joy, love, like tenfold.
It trumps the fear, and
Yes.
the brokenness,
Yes.
and the pain, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And makes me like want to do that again. I would even go on bed rest again for a
You
baby.
would?
I would.
Oh yeah,
Do
I
you-
would go on bed rest for her baby.